Buddha, the Enlightened One. One can certainly also say a lot about Buddha, but I would like to illuminate also only a few interesting aspects from spiritual esoteric view. The birth and the life of Siddhartha Gautama were already planned in advance, as it is typical for the great teachers of humanity. A divine spirit incarnated to teach people a vital contemporary spirituality. Thus, the life story is typical. The father tries to save the son from suffering and keeps him in a golden cage, but this motivates the son even more to deal with reality. Thus, Siddhartha encounters suffering, sickness, and death outside the paternal palace, making him go on a spiritual quest. In doing so, he has practical experiences in the various spiritual traditions that are unsatisfactory and almost lead him to his own death. This examination of the available spiritual offers is also typical because the Divine Spirit has to get an overview about the present teachings, their effectiveness, the problems, and also their linguistic terms. Only after that he can draw a conclusion and renew the spiritual teachings, which Siddhartha then did. He experienced enlightenment under a Bodhi tree. The term enlightenment refers on the one hand to a high spiritual realization, and on the other hand it is the process when the Divine Spirit flows into the soul, which brightly represents an enlightenment of the soul. In the case of Siddhartha, we can assume that he was already a high spiritual soul, and the state of enlightenment was only restored. Siddhartha developed the appropriate teachings for his time on the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, and liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Each time has its particular emphasis in spiritual teaching, while the fundamental points, such as love, wisdom, and compassion, always remain the same. It should be noted here that anyone who can apply the keys of wisdom can see the laws and the parallels to other spiritual teachings. The laws are always the same and must be taken into account, just as the truths are always the same in essence, even if different terms are used. Siddhartha as Buddha represents the prototype of an enlightened person, a person who has fully developed his spiritual potential. Enlightenment or spiritual perfection is possible and intended for all people. It is only a question of the right time, just as there is a time for flowers to bloom.